everyone, and welcome to Out and About Sunraysia, the podcast where we dive into the fascinating stories, people, and history of our beautiful region. I'm Kristin.
And I'm Paul. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're talking about two men who had a massive impact on Mildura and the entire Sunraysia region, George and William Chaffey.
The Chaffey Brothers, visionaries, entrepreneurs, and just a little controversial. Their story has it all: big ideas, big challenges, and let's be honest, Paul, a legacy that's still alive today.
So, Kristin, let's set the scene for everyone. It's the late 1880s, and Mildura wasn't exactly the green oasis that it is today.
Nope, Paul, that's right. Not even close.
Bit
Back
like
then,
my backyard, really.
Definitely, you could say that. It was dry, dusty, and pretty unforgiving land. Without irrigation, farming here was a pretty tough gig.
And that's where George and William Chaffey come in. Originally from Canada, they had already been making waves in California with their irrigation projects, turning arid land into farmland.
Yep, there were pioneers in irrigation, and they saw potential of the Murray River. Lucky for us, they crossed paths with Alfred Deakin, who was a big supporter of irrigation, and convinced them to bring their expertise to Mildura.
The brothers came up with a bold plan to build an irrigation settlement, which was a community complete with vineyards, orchards, and everything needed for a thriving agricultural hub.
George Chaffey's solution was to design a triple expansion steam engine coupled to centrifugal pumps. Tangies of Birmingham, who manufactured the equipment, at first refused to build the engine and then only manufactured it under duress, and it was on the proviso that the nameplate was changed to Chaffey's improved pumping engine made by Tangies for Mildura Irrigation Colony. This nameplate is still fixed to the engine today, Paul.
Wow, you got that out in one go. That was impressive. I'm glad I wasn't reading that. Hey, that triple expansion pump, the reason Tangies wouldn't put their name to it is because they really thought it was going to break. And they were right. It broke 2 or 3 times. I'm not too sure. But the video I did a few weeks back, interviewing the guys down there at the Socky Pumps, they explain it all. So if you get a chance, have a look at that video. And the guys give a really good explanation on how it works and how it broke.
Yeah, or you can just head down to the pumps on your weekend. So the engine and pumps were delivered in pieces from England. So I will, it'd be good for everyone to check out your recent video, Paul, and jump in there and learn a bit more. But it arrived in Melbourne before going to Echuca by train and then by river from Echuca.
Now, this was before the weirs were in place and locks and all that sort of gear. So the river was up and down, and quite often the Murray River was dry. So there would have been an incredible amount of timing just to get those parts on a paddle boat from Echuca to Mildura.
So the original pump house still stands at Psyche Bend, complete with its restored original pump, and is the oldest pump configuration of its type in the world. The steam-powered pump operates on key holiday weekends, and the Chaffey steam engine and pumps at Psyche Bend operated successfully until 1959, when electric pumps were installed nearby and the pumping station was decommissioned. The original pump house still stands, but the above-ground assets, including 2 boiler houses, were moved and the boilers sold for scrap.
That's since been rebuilt, so there's a boiler shed beside it, and the steam engine that's in there is out of a locomotive of some description, and it's actually reasonably new, and when they fire that up, man, does he pump out some power.
Can you imagine what that must have been like, watching this barren land turn green for the very first time? It must have felt like they actually pulled off a miracle.
Yep, and it wasn't just the irrigation system. They were designing a whole community. They planned streets, built schools and churches. It was the full package. Talking about the full package, W.b.chaffey was instrumental in starting up the Mildura Club. So let's have a little bit of a chat about that.
Yeah, definitely. So the original Mildura Club was modelled on British gentlemen's clubs, and membership was limited to businessmen and professionals. So the club went into recession after a couple of years. It was re-established in 1894 with W.b. Chaffey in the chair and granted a licence on the 31st of August of that year. It was during the 1890s that the other 2 clubs, the Settlers and the Workers, were also formed.
Where the club stands today on the corner of 9th Street and Deakin, there's a statue of W.b. Chaffey on the centre plantation. And the members of the club say that W.b. is still looking over the club.
So and then in 1901, the club moved to the Mildura Cultivator Building in Deakin Avenue. And by 1918, the club had outgrown that premises and began plans for a new building on the corner of Deakin Avenue and 9th Street. The building was completed in December 1919 and officially opened the next year. A new billiard room was opened in 1930, and this was further modified in 1992. Although the club remained a male-only club, members' wives were allowed the privilege of using a small ladies' room at the front of the building.
How
There was
good's that?
very privileged, us women, weren't we,
Yeah,
back in that day? The squash court was added in 1933, and further major renovations were completed in 1954, and an area known as the New Wing was established.
Have you ever been in and had a look at the Mildura Club, Kristin?
I've been, I reckon, to 2 different functions there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's because the
there's some-
cinema use it a bit.
I'm not too sure about the cinema, but I've been there a couple of times. I was a bit of a tight bum back in the day when I was working close by to the Mildura Club, and I was sick of getting parking tickets. So I became a member of the Mildura Club just so I could park my car in there.
Oh, so you can park in the car park.
But
Of course.
there's plenty of history in there. Like they've still got the open fire, these great big billiard tables, and the air conditioning system that's in there. It uses like they're like, I can't even explain it, but they're like sheets on the wall that wave. They're pretty cool.
So, but of course, Paul, with any big vision, there are always challenges, and things didn't stay smooth for long, did they?
Nope, the 1890s brought a combination of drought and an economic crash, which made it tough for settlers to make a living.
And let's not forget the Chaffeys faced criticism too. Some people felt that they were more focused on profits rather than supporting the settlers who were struggling.
Yeah, that's right. William eventually went bankrupt, and George ended up returning to California. And apart from all the financial trouble, W.B.'s youngest son drowned in the original fountain which was out the front of Rio Vista. Despite all these setbacks, their legacy is undeniable. Kristin, do you know where that fountain is today?
So I'm guessing, Paul, it's the one that is on the intersection of Deakin Avenue and 8th Street.
Very good. Now, there's another fountain in town that's connected to the Chaffeys, and it was near the Chaffey offices, or where the Chaffey offices were. Do you know where that fountain is?
It would be down near Rio Vista,
No.
potentially.
No. Think of another
No?
historical building in Mildura that has a garden.
Oh. You might have me there.
I'll jump in. It's in the gardens of the Grand Hotel.
Oh, yes. There you go.
And another interesting fact, these fountains actually came by river as well, and they were on the PS Gem.
Right. I think the one in Deakin Avenue needs a bit of a colour overhaul. I'm not sure that the Chaffey brothers would be really proud of that Mission Brown.
What do you think of British Racing Green or something?
Definitely needs an overhaul. So built in 1890 by W.b. Chaffey, the Rio Vista, Spanish for Riverview, has been restored to its original condition. So most of us locals know where the Rio Vista is, down on Curitin Avenue next to the new Arts Centre, or the MAC as we call it now.
Yep. Can you imagine what that was like back in the day? Because there wouldn't have been all that infrastructure there, and at times the river would have been quite high. Up on that balcony, it would have been an amazing view of the river from up there.
Yeah, and there's a lot in there now. Like obviously we've got all the tracks and the trails where the lock is. We've got the old amphitheatre. I wish that the council would maybe fix that up. That would be gorgeous to get
awesome,
reused. The dog park's in there as well now.
Yep.
So all of that just would have been inhaled by water. The comprehensive restoration program has included replacing ornate timber work on verandas, reinstating original doorways and staircases, and returning the drawing room to its original decor with Recreation Victorian wallpaper and original colour schemes. Built in Queen Anne style, the house features original furniture and fittings such as Italian marble fireplaces and Victorian lead light and stained glass windows. Rio Vista was first occupied by W.b. Chaffey and his family in 1892, and it stayed a family home until the 1950s. W.b. Chaffey moved into Rio Vista with his second wife, Heather, or Hattie as she was known, Hattie Sexton Chaffey, and lived there until his death in 1926. Hattie Chaffey lived in the house until her death in 1950, at which time the house was purchased by the Mildura City Council. And now it's by far Sunraysia's most significant piece of building heritage.
Hey, Kristin, I just learnt
Yes.
this a couple of days ago, and I don't know if it's true or not, but if there's any historians out there that could tell me if this is true or not, but W.B. passed away whilst cruising around Merbein checking out some blocks.
Oh, wow.
There you go. So
There you go. It's a piece of history there. There you go.
So, Kristin, we've spoken about Psyche Pumps, Rio Vista Mildura Club, and that history of the Chaffeys is still here today. So their legacy has lived on for years and years and years.
So one of the things I think, Paul, that makes me really proud is that our local primary schools are still teaching the Chaffey legacy to our children. So my daughter, who's 8, came home and, was able to show me different clips on YouTube to watch and, teach me things about the Chaffey brothers that I didn't even know. And I was born and bred here. So that's pretty amazing. So good on the teachers and for continuing that heritage. It's pretty important. So I suppose that's the thing with the Chaffey brothers. They really started and laid the foundation in Mildura for everything that our region is today.
Yep, their irrigation system became the backbone of Sunraysia's agriculture. Without it, we wouldn't have the thriving vineyards, citrus orchards and almond groves that this region is famous for. The Chaffey brothers really did lay the foundations for Sunraysia, and I quite often refer to them as our founding fathers, and I don't think that term's used quite as often as it probably should be.
There's even the Chaffey Trail, where you can visit historical sites connected to their work around the region, and there's a lot more than what we've just spoken about here. It's a great way to learn more about their story if you're in the area.
So, Paul, there you have it, the story of George and William Chaffey, visionaries who gambled on Mildura and left behind a legacy that's still shaping our region today.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the past. If you're enjoying Out and About Sunraysia, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also check out outandaboutunraysia.com.au. But I've also got to give a big shout out to Kristin, who's joined me for this podcast and will continue to join us for these podcasts into the future. Thank you, Kristin.
Thanks, Paul, for having me. If anyone's ever got a topic out there that they'd like covered or like to learn a bit more about, we'd really love to hear from you. So thank you, and we'll chat to you again soon.
Yeah, until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep exploring all the incredible stories Sunraysia has to offer.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time, and take care.